Hello, Periscope. Hello, hello. Hi. My name is Jenny, and I blog at A Domestic Wildflower.com, and I wanted to show you the Concord grape jam I'm making. I have a pot here of boiling grape goodness. Earlier I scoped about pressing the grapes through a food mill to get a really smooth grape, kind of like a grape smoothie, I guess. And then I put them on the burner and added sugar, and that is all. That's all I've done. And get it gently boiling for, it's been about a half an hour it's been cooking. And then, let's see, I'll scoot you a little closer. And then here is my water bath with my jars boiling. They're piping hot, and back here are my lids and rings ready for me to put on top of the canning jars. And I'm going to add a little bit of pectin to my jam, and I wanted to show you that. Pectin is it's made from fruit, but it's like the stiff stuff inside fruit that will give jam its gel. It's like it's what would really change it from probably from a more liquid state to a more solid state, a little bit stiffer. And I'm going to use half a packet of pectin just because my jams very often turn out on the watery side, and I can't even really exactly tell you why. I think maybe that has to do with my elevation. I'm over 3,000 feet elevation where I live. And so I just put a half a package of pectin in, and I'm whisking that in just to stiffen up my grape jam just a little bit. And if you have any questions about what I'm doing, I'd love to answer. I love helping people see that canning is not super hard or super scary or complicated. So I'm just whisking it up there. Here, I'll show you. Okay, don't get car sick, Periscope. So there is my jam, and it's boiling hot, and it's pretty much, it's just, all it is grapes and sugar, and now a little pectin just to make it a little bit thicker. Kind of the same way you might add cornstarch to a sauce to make it a little thicker. That's what pectin kind of does. So there it is. I'm going to put you back on the tripod, Periscope. If you've just hopped on, my name is Jenny, and I blog at adomesticwildflower.com. And I love showing people how canning and sewing and other kind of old-fashioned things are not super hard and not crazy time-consuming, but they're actually fun and good to do. Okay, all right, now it's time to get serious. So my jam is ready, or my jelly is, it's jam. It's not jelly, it's jam. My jelly is ready to go into jars, so I'm going to ladle it into my hot jars one at a time, and you'll see me ladle it in to the jars, and I'll put my lids and rings on top, and then I'll put them back in the water bath. We'll see how much you can see here. And once they're all in the water bath, I'll set the timer, and that's where they'll process. And then I'll take them out of the water when the time's up, and then they're done. They're shelf stable. It's easy. It's kind of hot and steamy, but it is not difficult. Okay. So I have my funnel and my jam. Concord grapes are a type of grape that have seeds and skins, and you might check out my scope from earlier today to see what they look like before they get turned into jam. But they're really good, and they actually are awesome with chocolate flavors. So I'm thinking I'm going to use some of this jam with Nutella, maybe? We'll see. I don't know on what. It'll have to be on something. Okay, so here's my lids and ring on top, put it right back in the water. I'm just ladling hot jam, dripping jam all over the counters. That's fine. It's not a big deal. Okay, and these handy jar lifters, worth every penny. I don't know how people can without them. Okay, let me check on something real quick. Sorry, Periscope world. I thought my baby was crying, but he's not. Okay. So you might see how teeny tiny my jars are. These are 12-ounce jelly jars, and I thought I would do some jam up in these tiny little guys for Christmas. So, so they'd be a little itty bitty cute size for gifting. I'm just filling the jars, and I'm leaving about between a quarter to, I think it's about a half-inch head space. Hot. What flavor? Concord grape. I'm glad I saw your question. This is Concord grape jam, and I'm using a recipe from the book Well Preserved by Eugenia Bone. And I really like that particular book because in her book she'll give a recipe and then 2 or 3 recipes following that use that particular preserve. So it's not just here's a recipe for cherries and wine, but here are 3 different ways you can use cherries and wine, for supper tonight. And they're really, I don't know, I think things that I wouldn't have thought of. Like, for example, this recipe suggests, oh, dang it. Okay, I have to interject. Okay, so I got jam on the rubber flange. So I'm not going to use that right this second. I'm going to clean it off. I'll use a different clean lid, not for the germ factor, but because if any of that prohibits, some of that could prohibit a seal from forming. So that was a happy accident. I'll use a different lid. So it's not the germ factor, it's the seal factor. The cookbook will tell you between 6 months to a year, and that is what I should officially say about how long things last in the canning jar. But I would be fibbing if I did not say that I have eaten things that I've canned 2 or 3 years ago. So I wrote a good post on my blog, adomesticwildflower.com, under the canning and preserving section about acid and canning, and I'm not a science teacher, I'm an English teacher actually, but it kind of explains an important principle behind canning, and that's acid, and the germs or spoilers that could make people sick can't thrive in an acidic environment, and that's why that's one of the reasons canning works, because bugs can't live where there's a lot of acid, or a certain degree of acid. So, so that means that for a really long time inside the jars, it's not an environment that is one that spoilers can thrive in. So I don't usually get too worried about my expiration dates. If it is a recipe that I know I followed exactly, and they've been stored in a cool place away from light, I don't get too worried about it. But that's me feeding myself and my family, so it's, you know, if I was selling it, it would be different, I suppose. But yeah, about a year, so kind of a long time, really. Long answer to a short question, sorry. But that was a good question, thank you for asking. Fire away, I've got a few more jars to fill up. So that lid I dropped, I just put it back in that boiling little saucepan to clean off the little bit of jam that was on the rubber flange. So now no jam will be in between the glass jar and the rubber flange of the lid. The worst thing that would happen if let's say that I used that lid and that seal didn't form, the worst thing that would happen is that all my hard work of making jam and putting it in the canning pot would go to waste because I potentially wouldn't realize that it went bad until it was already bad. So that's the thing that you don't want to do, is waste all your effort. Okay. Oh, not that long. So I put my canning, the question was, how long has this taken me? So I picked the grapes, I picked 6 pounds of grapes off the vine, over at my sister's place. My kids were playing with her, so I was able to just focus on picking. My kids are little. And that took me an hour. I was done in an hour. Then, that was a couple days ago, they sat in the refrigerator. And then, I bet if I just didn't do anything, like if I didn't get on Periscope and yak while I was food milling them up, I bet I would have been done in 15 minutes flat. Processing the grapes from grape shape to puree, and then it has to cook for 25 or 30 minutes to get nice and thick. And then, now you're seeing me do this part, so I don't know how long we've been on here, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Then, the boiling water bath, that's not really work, but it is time. This will be boiling with these little jars inside the pot here for, I have to look at the book, it's in the other room, but I think it's 30 minutes. And then I'll pull them out and that's done. So, not that long. For lots of jam that I enjoyed making and I know where the grapes came from and tastes really good, it's not very long. But that was a good question too. Okay. So because I chose teeny tiny jars, my canning pot will be full of jars processing in the water bath. But I will still have a little bit of jam left in the pot. So, here, I'll show you maybe. So, here's my, I think I want to try pasta sauce. You should try pasta sauce. And I have a Periscope of me making tomato sauce. So yeah, you should. So there's just a little teeny tiny bit of jam left. And then my canning pot is nearly full. So there presents the quandary that happens sometimes to people who are canning stuff. So I'm going to can up what I've got. You know, set the timer, make sure it's boiling. And then I'll have a choice of what to do with what's in here. I could probably put it in a jar, in a clean jar, and then just like have peanut butter and jelly for the next, you know, however long, and it'll keep in the refrigerator just fine for, I don't know, a couple weeks at least, probably longer. Or will I wait for this pot to be done boiling and then heat up more jars, that takes a little more time, and then get that jam back up to boiling and just repeat the whole water bath process. That is a time-consuming thing with canning, is doing the whole thing twice. So you have to sort of after you've done it a couple times, you'll get good at gauging how long, or if you'll have to run the canner load again, if you'll have to do that water bath process again. It's not hard work and it's not, you know, difficult, but that is minutes that you're in the kitchen and, you know, boiling water, and it's just a little bit longer, I suppose. But that's that Periscope. And to the nice person who asked about or mentioned that they wanted to try pasta sauce, I encourage you to try doing tomato sauce. It's easy, and if you follow a recipe, you will have delicious pasta sauce that you cannot even hold a candle to or that blows grocery store pasta sauce out of the water. It really does. You would never ever think otherwise. And tomorrow morning, which is Monday, I have a blog post going live about canning tomato sauce, so I hope you can check it out on adomesticwildflower.com. And I think that wraps it up. I have to check my timer and start my timer for my Concord Grape Jam. And thank you for the hearts, blue heart person. And we'll see you next time. Bye, Periscope.